Alrighty, here we are again. This is the town meeting program for April the 9th, 2020, in these pandemic times. Our show is always brought to you by Cordova Wireless Communications. Very much appreciate that support. So local radio can not only do its talk show thing, but also so we can just keep the transmitters running in general. Very generous supporters, both Cordova Wireless and CTC, of everything we do, and that's a big deal. Really appreciate that. I don't think that we have to go as long as we have the last few times today, because some of the new information that came out in the latest city news release is largely identical to what came out on the 7th. But there is some new information, so we're going to go over that, and then we'll cover some of the latest numbers from the state as well. Now, topping our agenda is this agenda, the fact that this afternoon, April 9th, 2020, at 3 p.m., there's a City Council joint work session with the NVE Tribal Council. Again, that's today at 3 in the Cordova Center community rooms via YouTube and via teleconference, of course, because of the need for social distancing. This is a very timely meeting of these two groups because people have been expressing an interest in seeing that happen. In fact, Raven Madison, well, that's how I've known her since she's been growing up, Raven Madison. But and she, I guess, is on the NVE Tribal Council. She wrote a great letter yesterday, which is circulating on Facebook, and I hope you have a chance to see it, because, you know, and what I like about it, people will, of course, agree or disagree with the content, but what I love about it is seeing somebody born and raised in Cordova with a family history, obviously, a few generations, stepping up and sharing thoughts in the way that she did. And I thought it was just really well written. So this will be, who all will be meeting? Daryl Olson, Tom Anderson, Pam Smith, Jack Hopkins, and Raven Madison, along with Mayor Copeland and councilors Tom Baylor, Jeff Gard, Melina Meyer, Ann Schaefer, David Allison, David Gleason, and Kathy Sherman. And the subject is ideas for working together and sharing resources during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the Tribal Council, the NVE Tribal Council, and the City Council meeting to talk about combining efforts in dealing with the pandemic. And if you want to observe that, it will be at 3 p.m. on the City Council YouTube channel. You can access that through the City Council site, cityofcordova.net. Now, turning to the latest news release, this is number 16. If you want to look at this again to read it, you can go to cityofcordova.net and download one. The April 8th news release number 16. City of Cordova, COVID-19 confirmed positive case count remains at 0. The text says, as of the 8th, there have been 11 COVID-19 tests conducted in Cordova with 0 positive results. There's currently 1 test awaiting results. Local healthcare providers have the capacity to test about 300 people in Cordova at this time. Additional supplies have been ordered. More tests have not been administered because individuals have not been sick enough to meet the CDC guidelines for testing. Again, I know we've said it a zillion times, but they're trying to hold on to the tests for people who are the most likely to be positive. And they continue to ask anybody that's not showing symptoms to just follow the social distancing guidelines and stay home, which we're all supposed to be doing anyway, according to the state mandate, unless you meet those narrow exceptions. The update on rapid testing machines is earlier this week, the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium announced that the Village of Eak's Alanka Community Health Center was designated to get an Abbott ID Now COVID-19 rapid testing machine. Elanca Community Health Center is awaiting delivery of that machine. Additionally, during Governor Dunleavy's press conference yesterday, the 8th, Cordova was listed as a location designated to receive one of these rapid testing machines through the Department of Health and Social Services. The city has not received any formal confirmation of this yet. Early and broad testing for COVID-19 has been shown to help isolate cases from becoming more widespread throughout a community. Excuse me. And no, don't go thinking that's just because I've been talking too much. It's not. My temperature is like 96.7. Anyway, however, it is important to note that only a small number of rapid tests are being sent at first, with test resupplies being controlled and distributed by state, federal, and tribal governments. Your Cordova Medical Response Team would like to reiterate that social distancing is still the number one method for containing the spread of COVID-19. And they'll update the public as soon as they learn of any changes regarding their ability to test. Let's add to that again that masking in public is also a very good idea. I know it doesn't feel very American to wear a mask because we're not used to it, but this would be a great time to get over that. And again, I think it shows solidarity with the community. You know, kind of like we wave the American flag on the 4th of July. We put up Christmas lights during the holiday season. During a pandemic, we all wear masks because it shows that we care about each other, which, of course, doesn't give you the right to beat up anybody who doesn't have one on. It isn't mandatory, but I think it's a good symbol. It's just my opinion, but there it is. Now, here's some of the new stuff in the latest city news release. City Council met for a special meeting yesterday to receive an update from members of the city's incident management team and hear recommendations from the IMT's medical advisor, Dr. Hannah Sanders. They also considered several measures to mitigate risks of COVID-19. First thing they did was pass Ordinance 1185, putting forth enforcement measures. Now, that's a word that people have been bringing up a lot. How do you enforce things? What's going to be the enforcement protocol? Ordinance 1185 puts forth enforcement measures to support Cordova Health Mandate 1 and Emergency Order 2020-2, along with any future orders associated with this emergency. According to this ordinance, which goes into effect immediately, failure to comply with an emergency mandate adopted under the City of Cordova's state of emergency is punishable by a fine of up to $500. Upon citation under this section, court appearance is mandatory. So here again is some motivation to go to cityofcordova.net and read Cordova Health Mandate 1 and Emergency Order 2020-2 in order to make sure that everybody understands, because this is, now evolved as the state did, which with much stiffer penalties. Violating the state mandates, if you're charged and found guilty of doing that, that can be up to $25,000 and up to a year in jail. But the city is also feeling it's important to be on record, I would guess, with saying this is a punishable offense and we really want people to follow these things. So Mandate 1, Cordova Health Mandate 1, Emergency Order 2020-2. Take a look at those if you haven't. And as we've been saying, share those with people you know that are on their way here for the summer. Make sure that because that's the best way to get people on board with the rules, is for them to hear it from friends and family. So share the links, use social media, use email, call people, pass it on. Other considerations from City Council yesterday. They also discussed giving authority for the medical advisory team to require changes to the processor plans prior to those plans being put into place in Cordova. The council voted 7-0 to direct the city manager to check with legal and determine if they can set that policy. Another council meeting set for later this week will likely yield more conversation on the topic. At this point, medical directors Hannah Sanders and Charles, I still don't know if it's Blackadar or Blackadder. I need to find that out. But anyway, Dr. Hannah and Dr. Charles, along with other members of the IMT, are reviewing and suggesting changes to processor plans as needed. Walkthroughs of some facilities have begun and others have been requested. Now, this is a good point because, again, in the chatter, people have been increasingly, urgent, I guess, that if these plans go into place, if the fishery is going to proceed and these plans go into place, that they're reviewed by doctors, by medical experts. And it sounds like that process is underway. Now, incident management team task forces. As this incident develops and planning progresses, the Cordova COVID-19 Incident Management Team and City of Cordova are exploring avenues and forming teams to expand their efforts. Several task forces are being formed under the operations section of the IMT to focus on securing ports of entry, sheltering, coordinating with first responders and public safety, and enhancing communication to all populations in Cordova. Informational posters and news releases are being translated into other languages. Work to establish and set up shelters has begun. That's the first I've heard of that. And another thing that's been suggested as people have been trying to come up with ideas. Plans are also being initiated to greet and communicate quarantine requirements and resources to arrivals at the Cordova airport. Now, see, there's another good idea that came out of the brainstorming, the public brainstorming. Having somebody possibly greeting people at the airport. So see, these ideas that people are coming up with on how can we make things work, this is obviously getting through. A lot of these get sent, by the way, to cordovaprepared@yahoo.com. That's really the best way to share an idea with the incident management team is you email it to them at that address, cordovaprepared@yahoo.com. Batting things around on Facebook is fine, obviously, but the official city team may or may not see that. So if you've got a good idea, as we saw people have in the letters that we read to you yesterday on this show that were part of the council packet, some good ideas shared in there, and it looks like some work has been done to incorporate those. So nice job to people that are coming up with that. So the idea of possible quarantine shelters and the idea of a greeter at the airport. They also say in this news release that tents are needed. The City of Cordova Incident Management Team's Shelter Task Force formally requests donation or loan of camping tents from the community. The Shelter Task Force will be using tents for isolating individuals without the means of self-quarantine in the quarantine shelter alternative care facility. Tents can be dropped off in front of Cordova High School Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, along with an attached tag containing individual contact information if the tent is to be returned to the owner. Tents will be used only as needed so as to avoid contamination. Tents without a tag will be deemed disposable. And they thank everybody who has an interest in helping with that. And the tent thing, too. I remember seeing that idea circulate around as people were talking with each other. So, again, good job. I mean, this is the beauty of how we typically get things done, which is something I've always loved about Cordova. When people are sharing good ideas. Other task force work. The IMT's Commercial Fishing Task Force has begun meeting and is working to ensure clear ideas about how to manage Cordova's harbor and fleet as they arrive. Industry group meetings composed of local processors, CDFU, Copper River Prince William Sound Marketing Association, and the Alaska Department of Fish and Game have been facilitated regularly with the IMT for several weeks, as well as regular meetings between the IMT and essential businesses. These meetings create open two-way communication between these entities and the IMT. They also offer access to medical oversight for these groups as they make plans to serve the community and fleet in the safest way possible. See, there's getting the doctors involved again. It also ensures that mandates and guidance from the city and state regarding COVID-19 are clearly communicated and understood. Meetings have also begun to facilitate cooperation between the city incident management team and privately organized local groups. So that's all real encouraging to me. I have no doubt that there are some who still believe the only way to deal with this is to invoke that provision for small communities in the state mandate for towns off the road system under 3,000 population and without a hub hospital as part of the tribal system. And obviously, people that feel strongly about that should continue to explore it. But it's also fair to point out how much is going on with the city folks, and the increasing level of cooperation there, I think is very encouraging, that hopefully we'll find a good way to meet in the middle. And the dialogue between the different entities does seem to be doing that. More of those ideas that people are brainstorming seem to be making their way to the policy level. So keep it coming. And that cordovaprepared@yahoo.com address, again, that's been touted many, many times as the best way to do that. So hopefully you've got that on your email speed dial. Now, let's go over a few things from the state here. Their latest news release yesterday reported, unfortunately, another Alaskan fatality, which puts us, I think, at 7 statewide. Yeah. So this one says, and again, you can get this if you want to read it from coronavirus.alaska.gov. The Alaska Department of Health and Social Services yesterday announced 1 new death and 13 new cases of COVID-19 in 3 Alaskan communities, 6 in Anchorage, 1 in Palmer, 6 in Fairbanks. Brings the total case count in Alaska to 226. Those new cases were reported between midnight and 11:59 p.m. on April 7th. The person who died is a female, age 40 to 49, from Anchorage, who was admitted to a local hospital on April 5th. Her positive test result came back, what would it be, Tuesday? And that brings the total deaths from COVID-19 to 7 Alaskans, 2 of whom were out of state when they died. Dr. Zink, who would probably win the Person of the Year award for Alaska if we had such a thing, said, "The loss of these Alaskans is sad and difficult for the families, the loved ones, the communities where these individuals lived, and for all of Alaska. The daily press release relays data associated with COVID-19 to the public, but behind each number is an Alaskan. My thoughts are with this individual's loved ones." As of yesterday, there had been 27 total hospitalizations in the state, and a total of 32 recovered cases have been reported. And then they reiterate the shipping of the rapid testing machines again. It says in other response news, DHSS announced shipping of 44 rapid testing machines to 27 communities across the state. DHSS coordinated with the Alaska Native Tribal Health Consortium to help determine which communities needed the tests, prioritizing areas that are off the road system or on the road system but 100 miles from the nearest testing facility. And here's something that matters particularly to us. The last statement of this paragraph says DHSS also took into consideration communities impacted by an increase in seasonal workers coming from other areas. And the city's news release said that the governor mentioned us specifically as a recipient. As far as where to go to get information, the state site again is coronavirus.alaska.gov. The city site is cityofcordova.net, and I seem to remember from yesterday's news release that they have launched or are about to launch an improved COVID-19 portion of the city website that may be a little more, user-friendly or easier to read or what. I'm going to have to take a look at it to see. But so even the webmasters have plenty to do to keep people informed. And so I think that's about all we need to do here today. Again, there is a joint work session between the city and the Village of Eyak Tribal Council at 3 this afternoon. Our mayor's briefings will run in the 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. hours. All of our talk shows, daily briefings, and weekly briefings with those FAQs we're going to be doing with the incident management team. We did one last Friday. We'll be doing another one this Friday. All of that stuff is on the YouTube channel Robbie created for our Cordova radio operation here. It's called Cordova TV. So if you joined this show late or want to share it with somebody, he'll have it up soon. It can't be already because it's still happening. But he'll have it up soon at youtube.com/Cordova TV. Big thanks again to Cordova Wireless Communications. They are your local cell provider, and they provide your local talk show, the sponsor of the Town Meeting Talk Show here on KLAM. Stay tuned for the rest of the 10 a.m. hour programming that you are entitled to have. Remember all of the guidance that's been shared, so not only you are supporting other members in the community, but not being out $500, whatever motivates you. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again so much for listening.